Okay, for my next skeleton clock, I'm going to try something different. I've never made a skeleton clock out of a carriage clock. This is running, although the timekeeping is all over the place, I'll be honest with you. Either runs way too slow or way too fast. And it's also not running for a full week. I've had it for about 10 days now. I bought it about 10 days ago. But it's a nice looking thing, and I think it will make a nice skeleton clock if I can do something with that face and obviously service it and you know, shape the movement slightly. So this video will show you me first servicing this like I would any other clock. I do give it a full service. I'll check the spring. I'll probably replace the spring because they tend to be quite tight in carriage clocks and they wear quicker, so I'll probably buy a new spring for it. And then the latter part of the video will show you me shaping it to make it look like a skeleton clock. Mostly photos, but a couple of unfortunately a couple of videos as well included in this video of me talking. Hope you can put up with the voice. Okay, it's down to the movement now, and before I can strip it, I need to take the tension that's still in the spring out of it. So normally I use a letdown tool, a spring let. In fact, that's it there. But this particular key is threaded, so I'm going to use a screwdriver in here so that it doesn't flick off. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but I need to get the tension out because if I strip it strip it with tension in the spring, it'll just explode. So hopefully that'll be done, and then I can start stripping it. Okay, it's down to the movement now, and before I can strip it, I need to take the tension that's still in the spring out of it. So normally I use a letdown tool, a spring let. In fact, that's it there. But this particular key is threaded, so I'm going to use a screwdriver in here so that it doesn't flick off. It's a little bit difficult to explain, but I need to get the tension out because if I strip it strip it with tension in the spring, it'll just explode. So hopefully that'll be done, and then I can start stripping it. Okay, the tension's out the spring, as you can see. It's stopped. A few photographs to follow showing you me stripping the movement. Okay, I think I mentioned earlier that I was probably going to replace the spring. I definitely am anyway. It is a little bit weak, so I'm going to order that. And the next job is to polish the wheels in the lathe. I will explain that in the next short video. What I'm aiming for when I'm servicing any movement is to reduce as much as possible any friction within the movement. Now, I start this process by polishing the wheel pivots. The wheel pivots, you can barely see them, they're that tiny. It's the point, the little tiny points on the end of the wheels that go through the plates. These are that small. I'm going to have a go in my lathe. That bigger wheel there I can do. I'm going to have a go and polish them in my lathe, but I am a little bit concerned that they're that small, so I may end up having to do them by hand. There'll be a photo showing you, should I say, doing the spring arbor, which is the silver thing in the middle there, and the bigger wheel on the left. I'll decide whether I'm going to polish the others by hand or have a go in the lathe. A couple of photos anyway. Hopefully you'll understand what I mean. I feel like I'm waffling. Okay, I mentioned a minute ago to you on this video, that's the pivot you can see there running. See where it dimples down? That's the pivot that goes through the plate. So as I mentioned before, I'm going to polish that, and I'll do a photograph after I've polished it, and I need to do them all, whether it be by hand or whether it's in the lathe. Okay, I managed to polish the wheel pivots in my lathe, the previous photos showing some of them being done. After that, I offer the wheels back into the plates to check for wear, and this movement is quite badly worn. This plate here requires, where I've highlighted, 3 new bushes. The actual spring barrel on this side requires a large bush in it, and this plate fortunately only requires 1, but it's going to be a difficult one right on the edge there. So the following few, well, before I say that, how I fix these worn holes is I open them up by hand to suit a bush that will fit, I can press into the hole, and I then polish the bush out to suit the wheel pivot that locates in the plate at that point. A few photos to follow anyway, showing you this being done. Okay, the service, the repairs, they've all been done now. If it was a normal clock, it'd be going back together and going on tests, but this is hopefully going to be a skeleton clock. So what I'm going to do now is start marking the plates up for material to remove. Now I'm going to be honest with you, I sort of make this up as I'm going along and just hope that it looks okay when it's finished. So what I'll do is I'll put a photograph up when with like red ink, if you know what I mean, on it, and that will be the material that will be removed from the plates. Right, as I mentioned earlier, the shading, the red shading on the plates is roughly the material I'm going to be removing from these 2 plates to give it that skeleton clock look, hopefully. But I have had a bit of a disaster. I was putting the bush in this barrel. I ended up having to make a bush again. I think I said that, but anyway, I made a bush, I fitted it, and then I just popped this into the lathe just to give it a bit of a polish, and I spotted that the bush is out of centre slightly, and it needs to be dead centre. So there's not a lot I can do with that barrel now. So at this moment in time, I'm trying to source another movement so I can take the barrel out of it, a scrap movement. There are a couple on eBay. I've put bids in for a couple, so that's going to take a week or so before hopefully I can get another movement to replace that barrel. The other disaster was on this plate. I took the centre wheel out. There's a centre wheel that attaches to the minute hand when the clock is together. And as I was taking the wheel out, it bent the shaft. So I need to get a new one of these as well, because this is the centre plate. It runs in between these two plates. And I was just about to shape it, and I thought it'll be easy to shape if I take the wheel off, but that didn't work. So when I get the new movement, I'm going to have to use the centre plate out of the new movement. I'll obviously check it for wear and that sort of stuff first, but I'm going to have to try and shape it with the wheel in sit. I don't want to try and remove it again. Anyway, enough waffle. While I'm waiting for those parts to turn up, just move them out of the way. I'll do a couple of photos of me shaping these. Okay, I've just had I've cut the corner off the original dial just to see how easy this would be to cut. I'm going to try and use this. I don't know if it'll work yet, but I'm going to try and use this to make the dial for the skeleton clock. As I say, I've cut the corner and it does cut quite easy, but obviously we need it to look neat. And as regards the centre, I'm not going to be able to use cutters like that to cut the centre out. So a couple of photos anyway of me having a go at this. I'm not so sure it's going to work. Okay, this is the centre plate. Because this particular movement has 3 plates in it. This is the centre plate, and the shading there is material that I'm hoping to remove. It's a little bit more difficult, this one, because I've tried to get this out. Normally you can on a bigger clock, but the wheel, I don't want to damage it, so I'm going to have to leave that in sit, and it's going to take me a bit longer to remove that material. But a couple of photographs anyway, showing you me doing this. The actual clock itself isn't far off being finished now. I'll just put this here. That's the centre plate, the middle plate. That's finished. That blue will be taken off in a bit when I clean it all. Last job is I'm going to just put some small holes in the barrel and its dust cover, just so that you'll be able to see the spring a little bit. The holes are going to have to be small because the barrel's only small, but it'll hopefully just make it look a little bit more interesting. Right, that's most of the parts of the movement going through my ultrasonic cleaner. I'll give it a couple of passes, but maybe about 3 or 4, about an hour I'll give it off and on. and I'm just going to pause it and go back to the desk. 1 second. Okay, so they're going through the ultrasonic cleaner. The original case is this, okay, which on first glance is not bad, but it is quite thin brass. The panels are plastic, and I thought, I wonder if I can do something different. All right, so many years ago, that long ago, I can't even remember, I bought this case, probably about 8 or 9 years ago. And I thought, I wonder if I can get this movement to fit in it. So I'm going to try. This is glass, and it's far heavier brass, and it's very dirty. So I'm going to make a new mounting plate here to put the movements on. This has got too many holes from whatever movement was in it before. And I'm going to source something. I'm going to remove that, which is what the old swinging pendulum would have been centered on. I'm going to remove that and see if I can find some sort of ornament that I could put in there just to fill the bottom. My hands look good then, didn't they? So anyway, a few photographs showing you the bits of work doing. This is probably going to take 2 or 3 days to do, but I enjoy doing stuff like this, so I just hope it works at the end. I came out to my workshop yesterday, and last night I was thinking, why am I concentrating so much on the case at the moment? I need to be concentrating on the movement. I had a brain freeze yesterday, so I think it might be an ADHD thing. So today I'm going to concentrate on the movement. I'm going to hand clean all the parts. These bits here, they've been through the ultrasonic cleaner along with the plates, but I'm going to hand finish them all and clean the pivot holes out, and then I'm going to put it together. So that'll take most of the day today, and then once I know the movement's working, I'll then go back to the case. So let's hope the movement works after all this. Okay, all the parts have now been hand cleaned. All the repairs have been done. Being honest, this has been one of the most difficult skeleton clocks, if not the most difficult skeleton clock that I've ever attempted. I'm hoping above all else that after all the work I put into this, that when I put it back together it does work okay. So a couple of photographs. That's the new spring, by the way. I'll have to put that into the barrel by hand because the spring winder doesn't fit the arbor there, so it's a hand job to get it back in. I'll grease that with special spring grease first, and then I'll put it all back together. Okay, that's stage one completed. I'm going to put the dial on it and the hands and see what it's running like. I think I may have mentioned earlier, this has been one of the most difficult skeleton clocks I've ever made. But at the moment it's running. It's early days, it's only run for half an hour so far. I'll take a photograph of it when I get the hands and the dial on it. Well, it's been running for a couple of days. I've been adjusting it. At the moment, it is running a little fast. I've just done another major adjustment on it, which I'm hoping will slow it down. I'm going to take a chance that that's going to work. And while that's doing that, just go to my workbench again. I'm going to, this is the case it's going to go in. I'm going to spend a couple of days bringing this back to something like nice. You know, I don't know if you can see the amount of tarnish on it. and I don't know, I find it quite therapeutic polishing brass. Is that sad? Anyway, I'm going to clean all this up. Hopefully the movement will be running something like, I don't mind it running a minute or so out, but it was gaining about 20 minutes a day, and I'm trying to slow it down. Oh, meant to say, a few before and after photos to follow. I finished the case and all its little bits. I'll put a photograph up in a second so that you can see that. This used to be an old bell that I've had for many years, and I'm going to try and polish it up. I think it will look nice as a little ornament in the bottom of the case. So this is a before view, and I'll be a photograph when I finished it. Okay, I'm really pleased. I really hope I'm not tempting fate here, but the movement's been running for 6 days, so all being well, tomorrow, if it's still running, it'll be ready to go in its case. Now, as you can see, I feel it looks a lot better than what it did. There'll be a couple of photos to show you me putting the case back together, and then I'll come back to it tomorrow or the day after to put the movement in it. Okay, as I said earlier, I'm in the process of putting the case together. That's a little Dutch ornament that I've mounted there, and then I just had a thought, I wonder if I could mount it on something wooden. So I'm just gonna, I don't know if it's gonna work, I don't know if it's gonna look good. I'm just gonna try and cut a piece of wood out and stain it and see what it'll look like on that. Okay, here we go. Not sure. I'm going to leave it on for a little bit. If I'll get my children's opinion on it. I call them children. They're in their 30s now, but never mind. I'll get their opinion on it with or without. Alright, but I'll leave it like that for now anyway. As you may have noticed in the last couple of photographs, it's not mounted on that plinth I made. The reason being is I've spotted, I thought the actual barrel was going to miss the roof of the case, but unfortunately it was just catching, so I've redone it and mounted it that way. And now I've done that, although it's a personal thing, I actually think it looks a little bit more skeleton-like without the plinth. But that's it finished. It's going to go on test again for another week, and then hopefully I'll be able to advertise it. I just hope it behaves. Okay, it's nearly 2 weeks later, and I'm so grateful, it's been running really well. As with all balance wheel clocks, if you ever buy one that hasn't been worked on like this, uh, they are notoriously bad for timekeeping. This one isn't doing too bad. The way they're made, they do tend to speed up when they're first wound and slow down, and I'm trying to get it so that when you go to wind it, it'll be roughly the right time. Now, at the moment, it's running about 4 minutes fast, and it was wound 6 days ago, so it's gained 4 minutes and six. Sorry, that's a lie. 5 days ago. I'm going to do another fine adjustment in a second to it, but it has been running beautifully for 2 weeks. I mentioned earlier in the video about this wooden plinth. I took advice from my youngsters. They're saying lose it. So I'm going to lose it, but I'll keep it to one side. So there's just going to be one or two photographs of me doing that, and then a final video. Okay. Well, I'm pleased to say that thankfully she's been running very well. 2 or 3 weeks now, I think it is. I removed the wooden plinty thing that I had underneath the Dutch lady there. And to be fair, I think the kids were right. I think it looks better. So the name plaques come. I'm going to mount that on top there. Give it a clean. I'm going to mount it there, and then I can advertise it. But that's her finished.